Hello, Crunchy Mamas. I hope you're doing well today. So, today we're going to talk about domestic violence. We have here from the YWCA, a nonprofit that Crunchy Mama Box helps through your help because when you buy a box, we donate our proceeds for each box sold to the YWCA. We're going to talk to Catherine Jones. She's the coordinator for the victim advocacy program. So here she is. She's going to join us in a few minutes, and she's going to everything about domestic violence and how you can help. You can help a victim or you can help families through the YWCA. Hi, Catherine. How are you?
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to come here and be with us and explain more about domestic violence and ways to help women, men, families all over the world can benefit from the information that you're going to teach us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay? Make sure we're all
I can
good.
hear you. I can hear you. The connection is a little, I see you a little bit blurry.
Let's see if we can get that
Let me
fixed.
see. It's like sometimes the connection is not so clear.
Let's see.
Let me see. I think I can hear you. Hi, Carolyn.
Let's see. Is that any better?
I think, yeah, eventually it will clear out, I think.
Okay.
I can see you a bit blurry, but I can hear you.
Okay. Let's see. Maybe it's me. Let's see.
Little connection adjustment.
Yeah.
And Catherine, there you are. Oh, now it's circling.
Is that any better?
It was circling,
Better
but
now.
now I see you a bit blurry. I could see you better before. There, it's clear now. I can see you. I can see you now. Yeah.
In business. Well, thank you.
Can everybody see her? I think yes. Okay.
Perfect. Well,
Great. I can see perfectly. Thanks, Catherine.
yeah, well, thank you, Wanda, for reaching out and having us to just provide education on domestic violence. I know that that is not a comfortable subject to talk about means, but
Yeah.
so important to have that conversation, especially when you think about right now and all that everybody is navigating with, COVID-19 and
Yeah.
safer at home orders that we were doing at the beginning. And I think what a lot of people maybe didn't think about was that not everyone is safer at home. And so
Right.
those who are victims of domestic violence, this has been an extremely dangerous time. The abuse are home more. Maybe their window of opportunity to seek out services is gone.
Right.
I think providing information and education to those maybe that they do have contact with are trusting them during this time is extremely important. So
Right.
today, just kind of talking about, and I think the first step when we talk about domestic violence is defining it. What is domestic violence? And I'll give you the textbook definition, and then we can kind of go from there. Is that domestic violence is the pattern of assaultive and coercive behaviors, including physical, sexual, and psychological, as well as economic coercion that adolescents or adults use against their intimate partner. So think about that definition. One thing I always try to point out is when you hear that, the definition doesn't say if you only make a certain amount of money or if you live in a certain part of town or you have a certain friend group or your skin is a certain color. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It happens to people of all backgrounds, all walks of, all socioeconomic. It happens to everyone. The statistic that we often hear and know is that 1 in 3 women will be a victim of domestic violence in their lifetime.
One of 3. That's a huge ratio.
Yes, it is, and it's something that I think domestic violence as a whole, I think a lot of people have viewed as a very intimate topic. What goes on in your home, I don't want to get in the middle of. Like, I want to kind of stay out of that. But really, the reality is you could be the one person that helps them get out of it.
Right.
The one person that they disclose to, that one window of opportunity to be free of the abuse. So when we talk about domestic violence too, I think a lot of people have this mindset that it's just physical.
Right.
He or she is not hitting me, not an abusive relationship. And domestic is so much more. There's so many forms that could be happening. Physical, I think, is the one that most people think
Right.
of. There's definitely a emotional abuse that could be happening, and that's those constant put downs or belittling you, and a very long lasting effect on someone for that
Right.
constant put down. And when you hear something so many times about yourself, you start to believe it. And
Hard
we
to
get
believe it.
so many times that it's the piece that is the hardest thing to get past. And that's what takes the longest to kind of work through. So you definitely got the emotional. You also have sexual, which I think some people might be familiar with, and that's your sexual assault or your unwanted photography or any of those unconsented touch, whatever that may be. That's also a form of abuse. And
So basically, whatever is not consented, whatever does is not healthy, either it's verbal, emotional, physical, sexual, economic, whatever is threatening to you,
right,
it's just not right.
yeah,
That's where you have to stop and think, right? This is something I need to maybe ask for help or maybe talk to someone from outside about, because it's sometimes if you're in a higher social economical situation, you can even go to a family therapy and see how that can be worked. Because does that mean, I have a question, does that mean that those two are not meant to be together, or that there's something that can be done for both in the relationship to work things out?
yeah. So I think we often get the question, can they change? And many times we will get, a victim that says there's a substance abuse problem or anger management issue or a mental health disorder. And, if we
Mhm.
that, then the relationship would be great. Things aren't really showing themselves. But the reality is that people don't know is that domestic violence is not caused. It is a direct result of power and control. So that is, and it's any way the abuser can gain that power and control over the victim. So whether it is the physical or the intimidation or
Mhm.
you know using the children, I'll keep. That's something we see often. Or the financial, you're not going to have access to family funds. I'm going to have control of that. And
Right.
something we really try to tell those that we work with is that your partner knows essentially what makes you tick. They know what's important
Yeah.
to you. And that's what they use. It's any way, something that's important to you, that's where they're going to try to gain that power and control over you. And it's
Okay.
hard. And definitely mental health or substance abuse, all of those things could certainly be present and make the situation worse. But power and control is the root of that in any way they gain that. And often what we see is when the abuser feels like they're losing that power and control is when we see the violence escalate, or they'll exhibit that power and control in another form. So it's constantly changing. The relationship doesn't always look the same. It could be a relationship where it starts out as a and we know that domestic violence is a cycle. It
Right.
starts honeymoon phase, everything is great, but then we move into a tension phase of feeling like you're walking on eggshells. What am I going to say or do next that's going to make them react or escalate? And then we have the violence. Whether it is or physical or sexual violence, but then we go right back into that honeymoon of I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, it'll never happen again, I'll go get help, I'll counseling, whatever you want to do. And then we go right to that tension phase. But I
Right.
think a note on the cycle of abuse is there's no timetable on that. It's not okay, you're going to be good for 2 weeks and then you're going to have a tension phase and then the event and then we'll go right back to 2 weeks. There is no timetable on that. And sometimes honeymoon phase could last for 2 days. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 2 years. But to recognize those red flags and look at the situation, do I feel like I'm on eggshells? To know you're in the phase. And two, the cycle is that the more times it repeats, the faster it moves through the cycle. And oftentimes, the honeymoon phase goes away completely. But we know too, the more times it's repeating, the violence often increases in frequency and severity as we get. They start as the emotional and then increase as we go through the cycle into that severe physical.
At the YWCA, do you take in women that have suffered also the emotional, not just the physical? Like if they come to you and say, I was emotionally and verbally abused but not physically abused, do you take them in as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I
because
think
I've heard that. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think, people think, when they think about the the law protects against, physical violence. So they think, well, if it's not physical, there's no help for me. But there definitely is. We can help connect you to resources, provide a lot of different programs that can help kind of walk you through whatever your needs are based on your situation, because it's not just physical. And the effects from domestic violence aren't just from the physical.
Right.
And I hear too, something that stuck with me is that victims have told me before, bruises will heal. I can get past the physical. It's the emotional and the constant down that is just, it takes so long to work through. And I feel like I'm having to rebuild my confidence and my self-esteem, find out who I am again because of that.
The trauma stays in your subconscious for a long time. There's a lot of psychological healing that you need. And like that victim said to you, the bruises will heal, but not what's in your heart or in your mind. It's just there, and there's so much more work to be done. And I've seen a lot of cases where the court system has not helped victims of domestic violence when it comes to emotional or financial or psychological. They're like, well, there's nothing physical, there's no physical evidence, so there's really nothing the courts can do for you. And that could be, something that could go on for years and years, and you can never prove if there was any domestic violence really, but there is. And that's where your nonprofit is amazing, because YWCA does incredible work and supports and just welcomes in so many women that have suffered any of these kinds of abuses. It's sad, but it's a very important subject, because if we can't go somewhere to look for help, what do we do? Right?
Absolutely. And I think too, it is, one of the reasons many victims stay in an abusive relationship, whether it is physical or not, is because a lot of times they feel like there are no reasons. There is no way out. No one's going to understand the things that I've been through. So to connect to an organization, and we do support groups, and to find a group of women that can say, hey, I have been in your shoes, or I'm in them now, and I'm walking with you on this journey. Here's what I did, or what I found helpful, and to not feel so alone, because that can be a reason they stay. Because there's victims who stay, and the statistic that always stands out to me is that a victim returns to the abuser an average of 7 times before they leave for good. So,
wow. 7 times. So that means that this marriage can last, or this relationship can last for years and years and years before you decide to take action and look for help, or break this pattern of relationship in your life, because that is so damaging. 7 times that. And if there's the back and forth, like there's the honeymoon phase, like you said, when everything is fine, that everything could be fine for a year or two, and then suddenly it happens again. So those 7 times could be up to 20 years or more. Is that correct?
yeah, I mean, it can be a very long journey. And one thing that we always strive to do is, this could be your first attempt to reach out for services. It could be your 15th time. You know, no matter the journey you're at, our services do not change. You know, we provide that same support all the time. And I think that's something that we hope through, you know, doing outreach and things through our program, is that we pass that message along to those in the community that a 1 in 3. So it may be you personally in it. It may be someone you know, a neighbor, a friend. And we get that question a lot of, you know, someone who isn't in, you know, the everyday business of working with victims. What can I do to support somebody? What is my role in this? And really the first thing you can do is simply say, I believe you. And those words can be so powerful to someone, because maybe the reason they haven't reached out is because they think, you know, my abuser is well liked or well known or whatever it may be, and no one's going to believe me. So if someone steps, I believe you. How can I help? How can I support you? That's huge. And
that is huge.
And I think too, we also tried to make sure everybody knows is that you don't have to be expert on domestic violence. You know, just really know who they call. You know, it could be someone, and we've seen this a lot in the pandemic of, like I said, some victims are not able to reach out. They don't have that window opportunity. So maybe it's a friend that says, hey, I've noticed, or my friend told me this is going on. I'm just trying to figure out who they could call to them. And that person in the community that reaches out, and that friend that says, hey, here's a number you can call. Why don't you call the YWCA, and makes that connection and gets them out. So I think it's huge for someone to say, I believe you. And there's no judgment here. Just like kind of our services are, you know, it could be the first time you reach out. It could be but letting them be kind of in the driver's seat of that, of what they're safe like, because it may not be safe for them to live right now. They may need time to get papers together or develop a plan, find a safe place to stay, and giving them the control back in that situation to say, you know, your safety, and what's going to work for you. You know, your abuser, you know what they're capable of, and you know what's going to truly keep you safe. So how can I help with that? You know, what do you need from me? And they may not be right now. And for us, we want to let them know that if they're ready to leave now, great, we can connect those resources. But if they're not at that point yet, know that we are still here. There's no judgment, because that's, I think, a big thing that victims have is this fear of being judged of, well, I've gone back 3 times or 4 times or whatever it may be. Like, no one's going to want to help me because I can't go back. But for someone to say, I don't judge you and I believe you, how can I help, can really make all the difference when working with a victim.
And Catherine, what about situations where the couple has gone back and forth, and you know, the person has complained once and has asked for help, then she's gone back or he's gone back, but then everyone is like, of course, not judging, but saying, oh, she'll be back to him. Oh, they're gonna sort it out. Let's not get involved. So a lot of people think, if I get involved, I'm gonna lose a friend. If I get involved, and then the consequences are worse if this person loses the children, or you know, because the consequences continue. Even if the couple splits, the consequences can go on for years and years, especially if you have small children involved. So how does YWCA support this? If I think most of the times, like if there's a very big financial discrepancy between, you know, the two people in the relationship, it's very hard when you have kids. You're scared that you won't be able to support your children, or that, you know, the other person will have more expensive lawyers, or there's so much involved. How do you support women, and do you support men as well, or is it just women in this case?
We do. We support men and women.
Okay.
Happens to both. And I think
Right.
too, when about our mission and to just eliminating racism, empowering women, but also we know domestic violence happens to men as well.
Right.
It's as often reported, and I think there's a lot of stigma that comes with that, that men feel like I can't be a victim. You know, I'm a strong man. This can't
Yeah.
happen. But it does. And so if
Yes.
guys, we serve them just the same. But you're exactly right with there being kind of the odds being stacked against someone who feels like maybe with the financial abuse, I haven't been allowed to get a job. And I
Right.
have, how am I going to go out on my own when I don't have a place to stay? I don't have any money. That's really where kind of our network with our community partners is so vital.
Mm.
We can provide support groups and safety planning and assistance with orders of protection and court advocacy. And we can kind of be that walks with you. But we
Okay.
provide those community resources, whether it be to attorneys in the area, you know, working with the district attorney's office. You know, we work closely with their office. And so that's really, you need housing, provide some transitional housing program for
Mm-hmm.
violence. So kind of depending it and knowing that it takes a village, because when a
Right.
comes, it's not just, I need somewhere safe tonight. This is a long journey. And so we want to make sure you're set up for success and you're empowered to take that step and know that you can do this, and you have a whole support system behind you to do it.
It takes a whole system, support system, to be able to overcome this emotionally and to get your life back together when you have children, even when you don't have children, because some abusers, they just run after you for years and years, then they just don't let you go and live your life because they can't deal with the fact that they lost control of you. That's
Right.
the hardest part. I feel that a lot of victims of abuse can say that you have been followed by your abuser for almost your entire life. There's what makes this abuser stop? Like, is there something that you've seen that worked? Because I've seen cases, I've lived cases, I have a personal story that it's just you can't get rid of that abuser.
And I think it's hard. You know, every situation is different. And the victim is always the expert on their safety. And we
Right.
want them to be in the driver's, you're in control of this, because I think when you come out of that relationship, someone else has been in control the entire
Yeah.
time. And so oftentimes that's a scary thing too, to kind of step out on your own and think, do I even know how to make decisions on my own, and kind of not feel confident in that? So
Yeah.
empowering them to know that you can do this. But I think there's no checkbox on, if you do X, Y, and Z, you're now free and the journey's great. And I think that's sometimes a misconception, is that when you live the relationship and everything's easy and everything's great, because it's not. And it have really good days and you're going to have tough days. So, you know, working with the victim on an individual basis of, what do you want to see happen? Do you want to here? Do you want to relocate? You know, we have created networks all across the US. You know, maybe Knoxville's not the best place or the safest place. Let's work to get you where you
Okay.
live free. So it depends on the person, but we really work to make sure we do the best we can to making sure they're safe, and they're thrive after.
That's wonderful. So if anybody wants to either, help a friend or just support YWCA, your cause, they can go to your website. You have information there. They know what to do to support your cause. They know what they can do. Wow, my light is dark now.
You're fine. Yes, yes. Visit our website, ywcaknox.com.
Uh-huh.
Lots of information on all our programs. We offer more than just domestic violence victim advocacy program. We have training, we have youth services. So definitely lots of opportunities to get involved and support our mission. But know that if you or someone you know is a victim, give us a call. 865-523-6126 is our main line, and
Mm-hmm.
it's connected to who you.
And Catherine, you're based in the U.S. If there's anybody out of the U.S., do you partner with other organizations globally?
So we off the top of my head, I can tell you that we have within our program, we have some culturally specific apps because we know that it doesn't happen in the U.S. But so we have two advocates, one that works with the Hispanic population and one that works with the refugee population. So
Okay.
they are great about making connections, whether you're coming from another country or you're needing to go back to a country, making sure that you are supported no matter where you're at.
That is great. That was I know that was a quick explanation. There's much more to it, but I think it was it educated me a lot on the subject. And there is help. Like there, you can look for help. You don't need to have the expensive lawyers. You don't need to be scared of anything because you have a huge support system. You have therapists, you have everybody who, like, you have contact with the court system. So no one has to be afraid of the abuser anymore. Nobody has to be afraid of having to go to court or having, not having money, not having the infrastructure or the knowledge, because you have a support system behind you. YWCA, I love what you guys do. I've been telling our Crunchy Mamas that yes, we have been supporting YWCA throughout COVID, and we can plan to continue to do it because it's a cause that I love. And oh, there's one question here. Let's not just, sorry, I'm going to make this a little longer, a little bit more of your time, but how do you help a friend who is in denial and not ready to leave? Well, so you can't call YWCA for your friend. They have to do that, right?
I mean, you can certainly call us, call us.
Okay.
Talk through the situation with you, provide resources, because oftentimes what we're seeing, especially right now during the pandemic, is maybe they're not able to reach out. So maybe the friend is the only person who can get those resources. So we are happy to give information. But I think too, if they're not ready to, reach out or not at that point yet, I think letting them know that, hey, these are the red flags I've noticed and I'm concerned for your safety. And I want you to know I'm a safe person for you to talk to. If you need anything, I want to support you any way that I can. And letting them know your support is not dependent on going to leave right now, that it's going to continue no matter what the choice is.
Because some people, their choice is, I want to work things out with my partner. I don't want to leave my partner. I don't want to leave what we built together, our life together. So sometimes can the couple go for help, or the victim come for help, and then maybe even the abuser can get help from YWCA, or that is something that should be family therapy and you don't get involved with the abuser? Sorry about this. This is a tricky question, but it's a curiosity that I have.
Yeah, so our services are for victims only.
Okay.
I think, if that is a route that they want to take, there are definitely some resources that they can reach out to in the community, and we would be happy to connect any that we know in the area, be therapy or whatever they're looking for. We can certainly give them resources.
Okay, that's great. I mean, you give them resources if you can't take in the abuser, because sometimes the abuser needs help even as much as the victim needs help, because they probably have remorse, regrets, guilt. Not every abuser does, but I think some, they're under a substance use or something that is causing that, and it's not that that person is a bad person.
But yeah, we're happy to provide any resources or help that we can, no matter the situation, and be there for them.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for your time and for all this information you shared with us. And please feel free to reach out to YWCA if you're a victim of domestic violence. If you're not a victim, or you know someone who needs help, reach out to them as well. Or if you want to support this cause, go to their website or call them. Can you say that phone number again?
It's 865-523-6126. Or if phone is not safe for you, we also have an email, just info@ywcaknox.com, that you can email.
Okay, so it's info@ywca.com, at ywca.com.
Yes.
All
And
right. Thank you.
you. So if you need it.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you, YWCA ladies. Thank you all. You're amazing.
All right.
Bye. Have a wonderful day.
You too.